Discover the incredible moment when a waitress revealed hidden truths that shattered a Japanese legacy. Gina's hands trembled slightly as she balanced a tray stacked with steaming plates, her mind racing with a storm of unresolved thoughts. The diner buzzed with the regulars' familiar voices filled the air like an old song, but she was somewhere else entirely. What would she say? How could she confront the past she barely understood? The door jingled, and Mr. Tanaka walked in, a presence that felt both grounding and challenging. The calmness in his eyes made her heart beat even faster. As she approached him, her thoughts spiraled. He had spoken softly, his voice a gentle murmur against the clattering dishes. They discussed family and culture, but each word felt like a weight pressing down on her. She could feel her mother's silence looming behind her, shrouded in years of secrets. The more Gina engaged, the more it twisted inside her. Here was a man whose last name connected to a history she had only known in whispers, shameful tales woven into the fabric of her upbringing. What if discovering the truth meant uncovering wounds that had never healed? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she cleared the table and served coffee to other patrons, the laughter and banter around her felt muffled, like watching a movie with the sound off. The pressure built inside, tightening her chest. Her mother had always said, "This family carries a burden, but it's ours to shoulder." But did that mean protecting secrets? Or would embracing the truth sever the fragile ties they clung to? Each cup she poured felt heavier, infused with her uncertainty. Her heart shrank each time Mr. Tanaka caught her eye, as if they were trading silent promises not yet spoken but deeply felt. The diner around her roared to life with familiar sights and smells. The grease-streaked grill crackled with 2 orders of pancakes and a keen-eyed regular shouted his order for the special. Yet all she could focus on was Mr. Tanaka's face. Time warped, stretching in the silence that grew between them, each fleeting moment amplifying the tremors in her heart. The tension was a living thing, rising in her throat as she rehearsed the confrontational words, desperate to find the right moment to reveal the tangled truth. "Why is your family's name haunting me?" She felt like shouting, a primal need to lay bare the unsaid. Gina's thoughts raced. She couldn't keep her mother's shadows hidden any longer. Memories of her mother's pain silence wrapped around her like suffocating vines, every word had weight, the specter of shame hovering dangerously close. Standing there, a mere waitress caught in the crossfire of her ancestry, her fingers itched to throw off the chains of silence. But deep within, anxiety screamed at her to retreat, whispering that truth could fracture everything. With a determined breath, she finally approached him again, the weight of the moment crushing but exhilarating. As she stood before Mr. Tanaka, their eyes locked, and she felt the room shift. Would she plunge into the depths of their shared history and risk everything? Or would she cloak herself in her mother's silence, honoring the family legacy built on whispers? The air vibrated with tension, the truth waiting like an unlit fuse, ready to explode, as they stood teetering on the edge of revelation. Gina's heart raced as she stood there, neither knowing how to begin nor how to end, the stakes feeling impossibly high. The hum of the diner faded further into the background. Mr. Tanaka searched her eyes, and within their depths, she sensed an unspoken understanding of the weight she bore. She had always felt like an outsider in her own life. Today, she felt like a stranger even to herself. "Gina." His voice broke into her thoughts, gentle yet probing. She had expected words of traditional pleasantries, but the vulnerability in his tone disarmed her. "Mr. Tanaka, there's something about our families," she started, her voice barely a whisper. "Something that feels unfinished." Each word felt like a small revolution against the silence that had bound her. For a moment, his brow furrowed, as if he were moving through memories tangled both with time and complexity. Unfinished can sometimes be the beginning of something necessary. The way he spoke, laced with both wisdom and hesitation, encouraged her to delve deeper. Swallowing, she pressed onward. My mother, she never spoke much about the past. But your name, it's been like a ghost haunting all I know. The truth flung itself out into the open, raw and defiant, while fear skulked in the peripheries, waiting to pounce should she falter. And what do you wish to know? Mr. Tanaka asked, his gaze steady yet quietly challenging. His question hung in the air, hinting at the labyrinth of heritage and identity that awaited her exploration. The realization crashed over her: this confrontation might not only unveil her family's narrative but also redefine her very existence. Would she emerge unscathed, or would she find her identity unraveling completely? Why did my family's choices bring shame? The inquiry she threw toward him felt like it shot from a treacherous cannon. In that moment, she felt the full force of her mother's silence pulsate like an electric current between them. Was she prepared to confront what lay beyond the veil? The room shrunk to just the two of them, the laughter of customers and sizzling grills fading to mere white noise. Mr. Tanaka took a breath, collecting words as if they were delicate glass shards. In all families, there are burdens we carry. Yours, like mine, may be steeped in history that colors our current lives. But those burdens don't have to dictate our futures. Her chest tightened further, aching for clarity while wrestling with the shadows of her lineage. Would she follow the path paved by her mother, where silence ruled, or forge her identity anew from the truth's radiance? We are more than our pasts, he continued, his eyes reflecting an intensity that kindled something within her. To know your story is to reclaim it. His words sparked a faint flicker of courage. Gina's fingers curled into fists, determined to combat the gnawing dread. She could either retain the shackles of her fears or embrace the unknown to empower herself through this hidden narrative that echoed through the generations. I want to know the truth, she stated with a conviction she hadn't recognized in herself before. Not just for me, but for my mother's legacy. The acknowledgement of her desire felt like a small triumph, standing on the cusp of transformation. That Mr. Tanaka nodded slowly, an understanding shimmering in his eyes. The walls pressed in around them began to fall away, revealing a new landscape of possibilities. As she prepared to dig deeper into the uncharted waters of her family's past, a surge of anticipation welled up in her spirit, but then the chime of the diner door interrupted their moment, a new figure stepping inside, instantly shifting the atmosphere. Gina turned, feeling a rush of anxiety as a familiar face emerged from the shadows of her past, a face she never thought she would see again. In that moment, she felt the ground shift beneath her feet. If there was any hope of understanding who she was, she would have to confront this new challenge head-on. Would she find the strength to tackle both the revelations from Mr. Tanaka and the unexpected presence of someone from her history? As they exchanged glances, the specter of the past loomed ever closer, and Gina braced herself for the fight ahead. What would this person reveal that could reshape everything? Gina's pulse quickened, the diner's ambience distorting under the weight of the stranger's gaze. She barely recognized them, yet something in their features felt unmistakably familiar. Could the haphazard weave of her family history truly be unspooled in this tiny booth, over coffee and old wounds? What are you doing here? She managed, her voice tinged with a mix of anger and disbelief. Just seeing this person provoked an immediate flood of unresolved emotions: embarrassment, betrayal, longing. It felt like standing on the precipice of a well of water she hadn't intended to disturb. The figure, a man, perhaps a year or two older than her, exuded a confident air, but there was a hesitance in his eyes. I was hoping to see you. To explain, he replied, each word measured as if he were balancing fragile glass between them. For a fleeting moment, Gina considered retreating into the comfort of silence. She could ignore him, let the past fade back into the shadows. But Mr. Tanaka's earlier words echoed in her mind. She had committed to discovery, to unearthing buried truths. She inhaled deeply, centering herself before pursuing the confrontation. Explain what? Why you walked out of my life? The words sliced through the air, sharper than she intended. Her feelings surged, vengeful tendrils wrapping tightly around the growing uncertainty in her gut. I was scared, Gina, he replied, his voice lowering, almost drowned by the murmurs of other patrons. "I thought leaving would protect you from the truth." The surprising vulnerability in his voice caused her heart to flutter with something between unease and yearning. Fear was indeed a powerful motivator, one she was all too familiar with. Her mother's silence had been born from the same impulse, but was that a valid reason for abandoning relationships? Protect me from what? From knowing who I am. Her emotional shield could only withstand so much, it verged on cracking. From understanding why things were the way they were, he said, glancing at Mr. Tanaka as if seeking support from the unexpected ally. "Why your family? Why my family has been fractured for so long." The revelation struck her like a thunderclap. This man, with the familiar contours of her past, held keys to stories she never knew existed. The fractures he referenced echoed her own journey for resolution, her quest for the missing threads in her mother's legacy. Gina's thoughts surged forward, a cacophony of emotions clamoring within the recesses of her mind. What was the truth he was this close to revealing? Her gaze darted to Mr. Tanaka for guidance, unsure if they were allies or adversaries in this delicate moment. But he remained silent, his expression a measure of encouragement. Swallowing the lump of trepidation, Gina probed deeper. "What did you mean by protecting me?" Her voice quivered, but the question hung in the air, demanding an answer. His eyes locked onto hers, a battlefield of regret. "Your mother's past isn't just a story of loss, it's woven through traditions, familial expectations, decisions that haunt our present. I thought if I left, it would spare you from facing those truths or worse, from rejecting your own history." Gina felt the weight of this revelation settle upon her shoulders. Her mother's legacy was not just a burden, it was layered with complexity that demanded to be acknowledged. Could she confront the reality of her family's choices, their struggles? Was she truly ready to challenge the narratives that shaped her existence? "Do you really think turning your back on it made anything better?" She shot back, the question rippling through the air like a rock thrown into a pond. His face paled. "I didn't think." "I'm sorry, Gina. But we can't keep avoiding what's here." This he gestured between them, "It's unfinished, just like what you've been trying to uncover." Despite the tumult, a flicker of resolve ignited within her. She didn't have all the answers yet, but she was ready to pursue the truth, to challenge not only her family's ghost but her own hesitations as well. With her resolve hardening, Gina turned back towards Mr. Tanaka, awaiting clarity. "Will you help me understand this?" she asked, eyes brightening with determination. He nodded, reflecting her resolute stance. Yet even as she stepped into this new chapter with healing on the horizon, she could sense the tenuousness wrapping around every word exchanged in the diner. But looking into her past, could she finally redeem her family's legacy, or would it only deepen the divides? As the weight of her choices loomed ahead, Gina prepared herself for a confrontation. The true battle of unearthing her identity was only just beginning. The air crackled with anticipation, she was ready to dive further into the pool of family secrets. How deep would these revelations go, and would they ultimately reunite or shatter them forever? Gina shifted in her seat, heart thrumming in tune with the anticipation that thickened the air between them. Each glance at the man across the table revived the sharp ache of unanswered questions. This stranger, this link to her past, bore a weight she had not realized existed. With Mr. Tanaka offering silent support, she recognized the choice before her, to tread softly along the path of revelation or plunge headfirst into an emotional maelstrom. "Let us start with your name," she said, a hint of challenge coloring her words. "Derek," he replied, and as he spoke, a flicker of recognition lit up his features. Perhaps he saw the glimmer of the past in her eyes, faded memories resurfacing amid the tension. "I can't believe it's really you." Gina's mind raced. Derek had once been part of a tapestry interwoven with her family, a figure hovering just out of reach in the murky waters of memory. The connection felt ephemeral, like trying to hold on to smoke. She pushed past the nostalgia. This time, she needed clarity, and a name wasn't enough. "What do you know about my mother, Derek? About the choices she made?" She pressed, anxiety spilling out in a rush of questions. The sharpness of her tone surprised even her, but she was unrelenting. Derek shifted, weighing his words. Your mother and my family, they shared a history before I was even born. It was filled with expectations, obligations, and, ultimately, despair. I saw the aftermath, felt the ripples of their decisions. He paused, and in that silence, Gina felt the gulf between them increase. Memories of family dinners, her mother's smile, the far-off glances that hinted at hidden struggles, the pieces began to coalesce into something larger, darker. I never knew how to address it, he continued. But I think I owe it to you to share what I do know. The reasons behind the fractures. As he spoke, emotions flickered in his gaze: regret, sorrow, maybe hope. It stirred something in Gina, deep and primal. Would she find answers that could mend the wounds within herself? You owe me. She echoed, incredulous. You left me in the dark, Derek. You chose silence instead of truth. Each word was a testament to the hurt she had been carrying for years, and it seemed the silence had only emboldened her need for clarity. He flinched, the impact of her accusations visible. I realize that now. But we weren't the only ones affected by our family's choices. There are things I can share, but I'll need you to prepare yourself for the truth. The shift in conversation pushed Gina into an introspective spiral as she grappled with what that truth might entail. Could she handle the weight of what he might reveal? Would her past shift her perception of her mother's legacy and her own identity? Tell me, she said, her voice steadier, laced with determination. I can face it. I have to. There's too much at stake. Mr. Tanaka observed intently, silently initiating their contract of trust in this vulnerable moment. The air was tense, electric with unrecognized truths and impending revelations. I have letters, Derek said. His hands trembled slightly as they rested on the edge of the table. Letters your mother sent to my family. They shine a light on what happened, what tore our families apart. Gina's breath caught. This was the moment they had been edging towards, the potential to uncover long-buried secrets. What would they contain? Would they reveal her mother's pain or expose wounds too deep to heal? Where are they? She demanded, her heart racing. In a safe place, but retrieving them might take time. We need to approach this carefully, Derek said, unsure. It was as if the very weight of their past stifled the space around them, forcing them to confront the looming dark. As anticipation tightened around them, Gina realized this was her moment not only to confront the past but to redefine her future. She envisioned the letters in her hands, filled with truths poised to reshape how she understood the core of who she believed she was, but doubt lurked in the corners of her mind. What if facing these truths fractured her even further? The uncertainty loomed ominously, pressing against her, echoing Derek's own hesitation. Are you ready for this? Derek asked, a genuine need for affirmation threading his tone. The question hit her hard. Was she truly ready to ride the turbulence of revelations, to confront all that had been hidden? As her heart beat loudly in her chest, she felt her resolve clarify. I'm ready, she stated, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her hidden trepidation. This marked the turning point toward not simply finding out but understanding her identity. With Derek's gaze locked with hers, something shifted. The quest for truth was no longer an isolated endeavor. They were aligned on a common path, bound by the weight of history that twisted around their very beings. As they moved forward, faced with the shadows of the past, Gina understood an unsettling truth. Sometimes, the path to healing demands an unbearable reckoning. Little did she know, the threads of fate would soon unravel in ways she never anticipated. What awaited her at the intersection of past and present could pivot their journey dramatically and unleash buried secrets capable of altering everything. Gina leaned back in her chair, grappling with the electric tension that swelled around her. She steadied herself, reducing the chaotic internal dialogue that threatened to spiral into panic. The thought of unseen letters containing her mother's truths swirled through her mind, igniting both fear and curiosity. Her commitment to the journey ahead was formidable, yet the magnitude of potential revelations loomed large. Derek noticed her hesitation and spoke with a measured tone. "It might help if we talked about what you already know. Start with your memories of her." The suggestion landed heavy. Delving into the past begged the question of how well she truly understood her mother, yet it was a necessary confrontation. Gina's thoughts drifted to weekends spent in their cramped apartment, the aroma of her mother's cooking wafting through the hallways while her laughter flitted just out of reach. Those recollections, however idyllic, were tainted by unspoken sadness. They masked the complexities she had instinctively chosen to ignore. "I remember her as happy," she faltered, searching for clarity among the murky waters of her memory. But there were moments when she did stare off into the distance, like she was caught between two worlds. Derek shifted forward, his expression intent as he absorbed each syllable. "That's the reality of many holding on to smiles while battling shadows beneath the surface. And you think that her choices were influenced by what happened with your family?" Gina's voice quivered with the weight of inquiry. It was a simple question, yet she felt it unravel deeper threads of connection. The possibility saddened her. She despised the notion that her mother could be shaped by circumstances outside her control. "Yes," Derek affirmed, his response layered with empathy. "And I think unearthing the truth now could not only provide closure but could guide how you wish to see her legacy. Maybe there's power in understanding the darkness. It can illuminate your own path." "Power," she repeated softly, the word echoing in her mind. Power to redefine her narrative, to control the shaping of her identity rather than allowing it to be dictated by silence. The impetus propelled her forward. This journey would test her limits but also had the potential to forge her into someone stronger, someone more whole, yet, each layer of revelation demanded courage she hadn't fully realized she needed. Would she have to confront her own expectations of family, of motherhood? Could she reconcile the image of her mother she idolized with the person who made tough decisions that may have hurt others, including Gina herself? "I want to know the truth, Derek," she stated, her conviction rising like a phoenix from the ashes of doubt. "I want the good, the bad, and everything in between. I don't want to live in a world colored by half-truths anymore." Gratitude flickered through Derek's eyes, mingling with a hint of sadness. "Then, we need to find those letters together. But remember, this is only the beginning. You must be ready for the ripple effect. Once we uncover these truths, you must decide how to use that knowledge, how to honor or confront it." Ripple effect? She mused, realizing the metaphoric waves could reach into her current life, displacing the carefully constructed image she had about her mother. Would she have to dive into discussions with those who knew her, people whose paths intertwined with her family's history? Yes. There may be those who feel unsettled as past wounds are exposed. Relationships could unravel, but they could also find renewal. It's your decision whether to engage. The weight of Derek's words settled on her chest like a stone. The thought of losing further connections made her stomach twist, yet a strange electrifying sense of agency surged within her. The thought of exploring complexities and reshaping perceptions sparked a fire deep down. "Let us do it," she resolved, the determination flowing through her. "I'll face whatever it takes, even if it shatters the peace I thought I had." As she spoke, Gina realized she was no longer just a passive participant in her life or its narrative, she was the author. With each revelation she sought, she would redefine her understanding of family, loyalty, and legacy. "Then, let us start the hunt for those letters," Derek said, a semblance of hope in his voice. The two exchanged a firm nod, bonded by the daunting yet promising task ahead. Little did Gina know, this quest would plunge her deeper into intertwined pasts and lead to an encounter that might unravel not just her understanding of her mother but challenge her very identity. As they prepared to search for what lay hidden, an unsettling thought lodged itself in her mind. What if the letters held more than just truths about her mother? What if they revealed secrets about herself, waiting to be unearthed? The sun glimmered through the dust motes dancing in the coffee shop, illuminating Gina's countenance with a deceptive warmth. She sat across from Derek, a steaming mug cradled in her hands, its heat barely penetrating her chill of anticipation. Every tick of the clock on the wall felt amplified, marking the seconds until she would embark on this investigation into her mother's past. "Where do we start?" Gina asked, the tremor in her voice belied her facade of determination. "Let us retrace her steps. Who might have known her during those years? Family, friends, old co-workers. It's essential to speak to people who witnessed her when she was struggling," Derek replied, his tone steady. The assurance in his words ignited a flicker of confidence in her. Gina nodded, recalling an old neighbor, Mrs. Tanaka, who had lived down the hall. She'd always been a calming presence, often inviting Gina and her mother for tea. "I'll reach out to her. I remember she had stories about my mom." "Good. That's a place to start. But remember, it's not just about gathering information, it's vital to assess how this knowledge impacts you," Derek reminded her, his eyes unwavering. She took a deep breath, wishing to dispel the instinctual hesitancy that clung to her. Part of her wanted to return to the comfortable beige of memory, the smiling images that didn't require a deeper dive. Yet, she craved authenticity now. "I understand. I'll be ready for whatever it might uncover. But it's scary. What if I find out something I truly can't face?" His response was immediate, a mix of pragmatism and understanding. "Fear is inevitable. It's what pushes you towards growth. Embrace it. Let it guide you rather than paralyze you." Gina felt a tremor at the back of her mind, the echoes of doubt creeping in again. Her thoughts were interrupted by Derek's phone chiming. He glanced down, a momentary flash of concern crossing his features before he silenced it. "Just work," he said, leaning back in his chair. "What's essential now is you. This is about your journey." She appreciated his steadfastness, but she also feared being a burden. This wasn't just her mother's past, it threatened to shatter the delicate balance of her own life too. As they made plans to visit Mrs. Tanaka, Gina noticed the shadows of doubt lingering in the corners of her mind. Would she emerge from this journey whole or more fragmented than ever? "Derek, can I ask you something?" she said, leaning discreetly closer. "What if I do find something that changes how I see my mother and myself?" His gaze sharpened, lips pressed in thought. "Then you have to assess whether that change is a threat or an opportunity. If you can redefine your understanding, you could emerge more empowered." Empowerment. The word hung in the air, resonating deep within her. It sparked a resolve ignited by the thrill of discovery. Later that afternoon, she reached for her phone, dialing Mrs. Tanaka's number with faltering fingers. The thought of hearing the old woman's voice made her heart race, yet an inexplicable urge to uncover the truth fueled her words. "Hello, Mrs. Tanaka. It's Gina. I was hoping to talk about my mother." The conversation began tentatively, fluidly diving into shared memories. Mrs. Tanaka recalled stories Gina barely recognized, stories that glossed over happy moments but sank into discomfort when faced with the more sorrowful truths. "Your mother had a light inside her, Gina. But there were times when that light flickered." Gina found herself on the precipice of something deeper, something critical, as she listened to tales that revealed her mother's struggles intertwined with her own vulnerabilities. The image of her mother slowly began to reshape, a woman not just defined by laughter, but also by pain, resilience, and ultimately, choices. By the time the call ended, Gina's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. The letters her mother had left may be only a piece of the puzzle, and Gina felt a desperate need to embrace the breadth of stories surrounding her mother's life. Determined, she turned to Derek, breathless from her revelation. "What if this fallout isn't just about my mother? What if it points to parts of me that I've denied?" His eyes gleamed with recognition, and she could see the gears shifting in his mind. "Then you must confront that as well. It's when you face who you are and who you want to be that true empowerment arises." A wave of clarity washed over her, intertwining her fears with unyielding resolve. She was standing at the cusp of a profound transformation, one that could redefine the entire narrative of her existence. As they prepared to delve further, her heart raced at the thought of what these discoveries might ultimately yield: new layers to her identity, old fears to confront, and undeniable truths to unearth. At that moment, Gina realized she was no longer just searching for letters. She was on a quest for herself, a quest that demanded everything she had. As they departed the coffee shop, a nagging thought gripped her: what beliefs about herself were bound to evolve as these revelations came to the surface? What if, in her search for her mother, she unearthed a version of herself she had never dared to imagine? Mrs. Tanaka's address lingered in Gina's mind like a secret waiting to be unearthed. The next morning, she stood before her bathroom mirror, assessing her own reflection. A mixture of uncertainty and anticipation coursed through her. Who would she see if this journey led to painful revelations about her mother? Maybe the answer would offer insights into her own hidden truths as well. Fighting the urge to retreat to the safety of the familiar, she dressed purposefully, each article of clothing an armor of intention. Gina felt a powerful need to present herself not only to Mrs. Tanaka but also to herself. She was not just a daughter seeking closure, she was a woman in search of identity, an identity obscured by a fog of past choices and unacknowledged fears. Gina arrived at Mrs. Tanaka's modest apartment, her heart pounding in rhythm with the uncertainty that enveloped her. The door opened almost instantly after she knocked. The warmth of the old woman enveloped her like a comforting shawl. They exchanged pleasantries, and soon the familiar aroma of green tea filled the air, wrapping around them as they settled into the coziness of Mrs. Tanaka's living room. "So, what is it you want to know about your mother?" Mrs. Tanaka asked, her expressive eyes searching Gina's face. Gina inhaled deeply, aware of how critical this moment was. "I want to understand the woman she was before I knew her as a mother. There are parts of her life I feel I need to piece together, the memories, the challenges, everything that made her who she was." Mrs. Tanaka nodded thoughtfully. "Your mother had a complex spirit, always radiant, yet she struggled with shadows. It was not just the joys but the burdens she bore that shaped her." As the two women spoke, Mrs. Tanaka shared stories from yesteryears, recounting Gina's mother's laughter mingling with bouts of quiet sorrow. She had a passion for life but also faced despair, especially when work was tough. "Sometimes she would tell me about feeling lost, especially after things would not go as planned," Mrs. Tanaka said, her voice soft but firm. "That's when you were born, and everything changed." Gina absorbed these words, the resonance of truth sinking deeper into her psyche. But how did she handle all that? Did she ever find herself? The question slipped from her lips before she could fully grasp its weight. Mrs. Tanaka regarded her for a moment, the silence stretched, heavy with understanding. "She tried. But battling shadows is intricate. We often lose parts of ourselves in that struggle. What I remember most is that she always hoped for brighter days. It was a gift and a burden." A flicker of unease danced within Gina as she realized she could be navigating a similar fate, lost, yet yearning for clarity and light. The comparison caused a rush of emotion. And what if I'm battling the same shadows she did? What if I lose myself too? Life is a tapestry, we must weave even the frayed threads. Your mother fought, and so can you. Growth often stems from hardship, Mrs. Tanaka reassured her, looking steadfast. Gina felt resilience shift within her, sparked by the realization that she had agency. Where her mother might have felt trapped in her circumstances, Gina now recognized the potential for self-discovery lodged within her journey, a path laid out before her. As their conversation deepened, she probed further about specific incidents, missed dreams and unfulfilled desires. Each story unraveled the spectrum of her mother's being, and with each revelation, Gina felt the ground beneath her shift. Maybe she was not merely a reflection of her mother's past but also an essential derivative of her strengths. The thread of hope their stories wove together began to illuminate the cornerstones of Gina's aspirations, propelling her away from past fears. Eventually, as they reached the end of their discussion, Mrs. Tanaka leaned forward. "Remember, while your mother's despair was profound, her love for you was immense. You are a continuation of her journey, and you alone can redefine what that means." Gina left the tea house, feeling electrified, a newfound determination surging through her veins. The intersecting paths of empathy and understanding shaped a foundation upon which she could build her identity. As she navigated through her memories, she was more than just a daughter, she was a woman sculpting her narrative from the fragmented pieces of the past, but as she arrived home, she uncovered something alarming tucked into her own belongings, a letter bearing her mother's handwriting, sealed. Who else had known of its existence? Feelings of trepidation and intrigue collided. What more had her mother hidden, and how would it reshape this journey of self-discovery? Gina held the letter in her trembling hands, the sight of her mother's handwriting igniting a storm of emotions within her. A wave of apprehension crashed over her. What secrets lay hidden beneath the seal? She paced the floor of her small apartment, each step echoing the questions that demanded answers. As a daughter, the primal urge to protect her mother had always overshadowed her own curiosity. Now, however, that inquisitiveness clawed at her, gnawing at her desire for connection over fear. The parchment crinkled softly as she turned it over, feeling the weight of years and unresolved questions pressing against her. Why had her mother felt the need to write this, and why had it remained sealed? Was it a letter of hope, of regret, or perhaps something more profound, an admission of her struggles? After what felt like an eternity of hesitation, Gina carefully slid her finger beneath the flap. The act felt monumental, as if she were unearthing a relic not meant for her eyes. With a decisive yank, she broke the seal, the crisp sound reverberating against the silence of the room. The letter unfolded gently, her mother's words spilling out like confessions. Each sentence danced with authenticity, revealing a tapestry of emotions that her mother had navigated alone. The ink spoke of dreams deferred and artist's aspirations, an illness that sapped her strength, the heartache of coping as a single parent. Gina's breath quickened as she discovered her mother's passion for painting, a talent hidden beneath the weight of everyday responsibilities, and the fear that she would fail. "I didn't want you to see my struggles," the letter began. "I wanted to shield you from the shadows that loomed over me, but in doing so, I may have robbed you of a glimpse into my heart." Each word resonated within her, the realization hitting like a punch. Her mother was not just a caretaker, a source of comfort, she had been a woman grappling with her own demons. The love that had sustained Gina through her childhood was interwoven with the same despair she had feared confronting. Her mother had given her the strength to keep moving forward while battling internal storms she hadn't yet acknowledged. It dawned on her how many battles remained unacknowledged in her own life. Was she living authentically or merely existing to fulfill expectations? Gina felt a growing urgency to break free from the cyclical uncertainties that plagued her. Why had she squashed her own passions for fear of judgment or failure? Her mother's struggles were not just warning signs, they were invitations to explore her own path, to weave her story into the fabric of her independence. Fueled by this revelation, she ran to her workspace, the small room cluttered with memories and art supplies. She had abandoned it long ago, retreating from her creative urges, afraid of stepping outside of her comfort zone. But now, with the letter crumpled in her hand, she was ready to confront the blank canvas that had once terrified her. Gina pushed through her hesitation. The palette danced in front of her, colors rich and bold, beckoning her to explore emotions she had kept locked away. It was time to redefine herself, not as the daughter cloaked in her mother's shadow, but as an individual with her own voice. As she mixed vivid hues, a sense of clarity began to take shape. With every brushstroke, she told her story, her fears pouring out onto the canvas. The confrontation with her mother's hidden truths became an embodiment of her own emerging identity, but just as the painting seemed to shimmer with promise, a familiar voice broke her focus, her ex-boyfriend standing in the doorway, a look of concern on his face. "Gina, I've been looking for you. We need to talk about what happened." The tension in the room shifted. What did he want? And could she afford this moment of distraction now? What would she confront, her past or her uncertain future? Gina's heart raced as she stared at Brad, who lingered in the doorway, his presence a jarring disruption to her fragile moment of reckoning. The stark contrast between the vibrant palette sprawled across her work table and the grayness of his expression pulled her in two different directions. "Gina, please. It's important," he insisted, his voice steady but edged with an urgency that ignited a flicker of anxiety within her. She inhaled deeply, weighing her options. On one hand, this could be a chance to settle old scores and finally erase the shadows of their shared memories. On the other, she felt the undeniable pull of her awakening, the creative spark blooming inside as she stood before her unfinished canvas. "Can't this wait?" she asked, her tone sharper than intended, masking her reluctance to delve into the complications of their history. "I'm in the middle of something. Something that can wait." He leaned against the frame, arms crossed, the very picture of a man who believed he had the right to intrude. "You don't sound okay. I've seen you retreat into your work like this before, and I'm fine," she snapped back. There it was, the edge in her voice that came from years of feeling cornered, of refusing to let anyone, especially him, dictate her narrative. "I need to explore my own path right now. I can't keep reliving the past." Brad's expression softened, an unexpected kindness overshadowing the tension. "That's what I'm trying to help you with. The past doesn't need to keep holding you back, Gina. Let us confront it together." Gina felt her pulse quicken, caught between the urgent need to protect her newfound resolve and the familiarity of his concern. Yet, what could he offer her? She had spent so long tethered to his expectations and emotional needs that it felt almost foreign to assert her autonomy. "What happened earlier wasn't just about you or me," he said slowly, as if testing the waters of her understanding. "It's like you're burying something deeper, and I can't stand to watch you suffer in silence. This isn't just a conversation, it's about facing everything that's been left unsaid." The weight of his words pressed down on her, and in that moment, she hesitated. Could there be truth in his plea? Maybe she was dodging more than just her past with him, maybe she was avoiding a confrontation with her own self-doubt. "No more ultimatums, Brad," she said firmly, her voice steadying as she felt the brush in her hand. "I can't keep putting my growth on hold for you or anyone. I need to figure out who I am beyond all these layers that have encased me." His brow furrowed, a flicker of disappointment flashing across his features. "You think shutting me out will help? You're making a mistake. There's strength in vulnerability, Gina." In that split second, something primal stirred within her. The vanity of vulnerability drifted into the air, challenging her to confront not just her past with him, but the core of her identity. Would opening herself to him mean undermining her resolve, or could it pave the way for a deeper understanding of her own truth? "Strength comes from facing our fears, right?" she challenged, her voice unwavering. "So then this is my choice, to paint my story, which I've neglected for far too long. You can either support that or step aside." Gina turned back to her canvas, her hands shaking with both trepidation and excitement. She dipped her brush into the colors, envisioning vibrant expressions of her emotional turmoil, all while feeling the intensity of Brad's lingering gaze, but as she started to pour herself into the artwork, uncertainty crept back. Had she truly found the courage to strip away the layers that concealed her true self? And if she chose to confront her past, would it contain the answers she sought? A silence hung between them, charged with unspoken tensions and unresolved feelings. Was this moment a springboard for her breakthrough, or a mere distraction leading her deeper into confusion? As her brush glided across the canvas, her heart raced with possibilities, urging her to dig deeper into the story she was beginning to articulate. But even as she painted, she could feel the undercurrents of her past spiraling back, a storm ready to engulf her. Would she finally let her voice be heard, confront the truths that had long remained unaddressed, and would Brad stand by her side or become yet another chapter of her history? The tension escalated, leaving the future uncertain as she lost herself in the kaleidoscope of colors, knowing she had to decide between breaking free or retreating back into shadows. Which choice would she ultimately embrace? Gina stood in her studio, the canvas shimmering with vivid colors, each stroke a testament to her determination to reclaim her narrative. She felt the heat of unresolved emotions radiating around her, yet for the first time, it felt empowering rather than suffocating. The cacophony of her doubts faded in the presence of her resolve. Today was not about the past, it was about crafting a future that honored both her and her mother's hidden truths. Brad lingered in the doorway, his expression etched with confusion and concern. "Gina, you can't shut me out," he pressed, though for once, his voice was softer, stripped of urgency. You can't pretend it doesn't matter. Inhaling deeply, she turned back to him, her grip on the brush tightening. It matters more than you could understand, Brad. The past has poured into my work, but it's just the beginning. I'm no longer just my mother's daughter, I'm becoming Gina. That woman can't be defined by the shadows of her past. I want to support you, but you're afraid to let anyone in, he countered, stepping closer. Don't you see? You're painting over layers of pain. How do I help if you'll keep them hidden? A flood of emotions surged in her soul. It's not about hiding anymore. I want to confront those layers, to understand them, to learn how to weave my own story into something beautiful. The words tumbled out, each syllable pulling her deeper into the very essence of her desires. Gina felt solid confidence emanate from within. This was her moment, the silence stretched between them, punctuated only by the soft swish of paint against canvas. For the first time, she experienced a tangible sense of agency and awakening. Brad, I need to dig deeper into my own identity before I can truly allow it to intertwine with anyone else's. I understand vulnerability, but I'm learning how to expose my own truths before I can share them. As she spoke, she saw it reflected in his eyes, a dim realization that she was transforming. This was more than a confrontation, it was a demonstration of her growth, a realization that evolving required peeling away the layers of her insecurities. Your mother faced her shadows, and now you are beginning to face yours, he murmured, but this time, his tone was different, one of respect rather than pity. The acknowledgement sparked something within her, not only was she claiming her personal space, but she was paving the way toward the strength of her authenticity. I must honor my journey toward self-discovery, Gina affirmed, her tone resolute. Through understanding my mother, I can stitch together the ruptures within myself. The past has given me context, but I will not be chained by it. You're right, he replied, and this time, his nod was more pronounced, conveying a newfound acceptance. Then I'll be here when you're ready. With that statement, the door to possibility opened wider. Gina felt the weight of his past presence slowly begin to lift, an acknowledgement that catalyzed her own self-acceptance. Maybe they would find their way back together beyond this moment, or perhaps it was time to embark on separate journeys. In either case, she realized she had climbed from shadows into a fresh perspective. Weeks passed, each day a canvas of its own. She continued to paint, a personal ritual interlaced with the growing understanding of her mother's struggles as well as her own emerging identity. With each completed piece, she found clarity and satisfaction in the process. The fears she once clutched tightly in her soul softened, transforming into stepping stones towards her aspirations. Here and there, whispers of bravery emerged, urging her to acknowledge her dreams not as mere echoes of her past, but as reality manifesting in vibrant hues. On a clear Saturday afternoon, Gina received an invitation to showcase her artwork at a local gallery. Her heart pounded in exhilaration and anxiety. This could be more than an opportunity, it could be her public declaration of self-acceptance. Standing in front of her artworks, surrounded by an office of admirers and critics alike, Gina felt solidity surge within herself, anchored by the understanding of her journey. There, in that moment of recognition, as people engaged with her work, the colors, the stories, the emotions, she could feel the catharsis she had long sought. Is this your first exhibit? A kind stranger asked, their voice warm amidst the chatter. Indeed, she replied, a slow smile spreading on her lips as she recognized the achievement in her openness. I'm finally learning to embrace my past, my art, and my truth. Each interaction reminded her that she had transformed from a girl defined by shadows into a woman shining in her authentic light. The past was part of her story but did not dictate her future. That evening, she stood before her canvas yet again, reflecting on her experience. Gina had not only confronted the weight of her mother's legacy but had woven it with her own identity. Looking back, she realized the unbreakable bond her vulnerability wasn't endured alone, it was now a shared testament of growth and understanding. Gina smiled at her painting, a vibrant tribute to all she had faced, conquered, and embraced. And just like that, she knew she had not only unveiled her own strengths but had begun to forge a legacy of resilience right alongside her mother. As the last of the sunlight faded, she silently resolved to keep moving forward, armed with the knowledge that her journey wouldn't simply encapsulate the pain of the past, but the brilliance of the present. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread these powerful journeys. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative conclusion. Your engagement is essential. It fuels the fire of resilience and self-discovery. Comment down below your thoughts, reactions, or theories about these emotional narratives because your voice matters.